from pulling off the biggest scam of this decade.
Ignatova founded and ran one of the largest Ponzi schemes in history,
peddling a fake cryptocurrency called OneCoin and raking in billions of dollars from her victims.
She promised so many people they were going to get rich that they actually believed that she could do this and that it would work.
To Olympic snowboarder who took such a dark turn into world of narcotics that he became the most notorious trafficker in Northern America. Ryan Wedding is often involved in shipping hundreds of kilograms of narcotics from Colombia through Mexico into California and then Ontario, Canada. The Dunkin' Donut in Hanover, Maryland was busy as usual. People were coming in to get their favorite glazed donut. But something strange was going on. The store seemed to be open, however, no one was behind the counter. Bhadresh Kumar Patel and his wife Palak Patel were supposed to be on duty, but no one was there. Newly married, their relationship, however, was already strained. Palak often felt lonely and would frequently call her parents. On the night of April 12, 2015, Palak was feeling extremely lonely and just wanted to vent. So she once again called her parents. Palak told them that their visa had expired and they no longer could stay here. So she just wanted to move back. But Bhadresh Kumar Patel wanted to stay. In the surveillance footage, we can see that Bhadresh Kumar had taken Palak's phone. As he was going to the back of the store, Palak followed him. As some customers were walking out, they approached a police officer. Upon checking the store, the officer found 21-year-old Palak's lifeless body. Bhadresh Kumar had brutally stabbed his wife and returned as if nothing has happened, and later checked into a hotel and vanished without a trace. Whereas the next criminal on the list took help of dozens of men dressed in military uniform to escape the court. These men opened fire in an attempt to free the suspected leader of MS-13 gang, also known as El Porqué, but his real name is Yulan Adnoy Archaga Carias. These gangs' activities are single-handedly responsible for making Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras one of the most violent regions in the world.
Donde yo vivo no me siento seguro. En los últimos 2 años he cambiado de 3 colonias y aquí no se puede.
El Dios de ellos es Satanás. Satanás ha venido a matar, a hurtar y a destruir. Muerte.
But what if I told you that all of this actually started in LA? Millions of Salvador immigrants fled to the US to escape the civil war that was happening. They all came to the City of Angels, the Los Angeles. At first, they were just a group of young men bonding over rock music. However, as they found themselves surrounded by other gangs in LA, MS-13 was formed. And they became increasingly violent, determined to protect its territory at any cost. As the Civil War ended, the deportation of immigrants started. They were actually really happy to come back because they knew they can thrive in an environment where police system and justice system is so weak that they just can bribe their way out of jail. San Francisco is one of the richest cities in the world, but behind its glorious facade lies its drug problem.
The cartels don't sell fentanyl as fentanyl. They hide it in other drugs like cocaine or methamphetamine or heroin. They make it into these fake pills that look identical to pharmaceutical drugs that Americans would recognize.
Just 2 milligrams, the amount that fits on the tip of a pencil, can kill.
And that person, they're betting, if they survive, will come back again and again to buy more.
And it's affecting the young generation the most.
Thought fentanyl, you hear about it, but you think, oh, that's just affecting people on the streets, homeless people, drug addicts. No.
Every single week, we are losing a high school class somewhere in America. Behind it all are these two men, Fausto Isidro Meza Flores and Wilber Villegas Pellemino. Once a high-ranking hitman, Fausto Meza Flores, aka Chapo Isidro, challenged the most powerful drug lord of all time. You know, this guy, El Chapo. But he not only just took on El Chapo, he outlasted him to become the leader of his own empire, the Meza Flores cartel. The cartel predominantly controls transportation of large quantity of narcotics in several locations throughout Mexico, and in the end distributing it into the US. While Fausto Isidro Meza Flores moves the poison across the border, it is Wilber who is making sure that the supply never runs dry. Wilber Villegas Pellemino, also known as the Hog, is a high-ranking member of the National Liberation Army. It is an anti-government rebel group in Colombia. The proceeds from Wilber's actual business funds the ELN's terrorist attack and buys political influence. So what is Wilber's real business? He actually owns, controls, and permits the operation of cocaine laboratories. And it is just not one lab or 10, it's 70 of them. This is Jabali Dumas. He works day and night to make sure his family never faces any hardship. And no matter how tired he is, he always makes it back home for dinner. The next day, Jabali heads to a local shopping center for a haircut at his regular barber shop. Then he stops at his favorite convenience store. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a gunshot can be heard. People nearby are panicking, ducking for cover. Jabali was multiple times. Surveillance footage shows a large man wearing glasses walking near the scene. The shooter was identified as a gang member of Pier Street gang in LA named Omar Cardenas. It is still unclear if Omar knew Jabali. However, he hit him 7 times and Jabali sadly died on the scene. There is little to no information on Omar. He remains a ghost in the system.
This is not Honduras, El Salvador, or Guatemala. This is Colorado. These gang members are roaming freely in apartment complexes as if they own it. Here they are again in New York fighting with the NYPD. Here they are again robbing a jewelry store. Tren de Aragua began inside a prison in Venezuela, where the gang members drove out the guard and took control. They turned the prison into their base camp and even added things like a pool, a zoo, and a playground. Gang members are frequently involved in robbery, weapon trafficking, and drug trafficking. The commander-in-chief of this gang is Giovanni Mosquero Serrano. While the next criminal on the list is a mother of 10 kids, but one of her kids, 6-year-old Noel, is missing. Noel is a child with special needs. He has a speech delay disorder and a chronic lung disease. 40-year-old Sydney Rodriguez Singh was a struggling single mother when she met a 71-year-old Charles Parson in a grocery store, where they quickly formed an agreement. Agreement was that Cindy and the kids would live in Charles' house rent-free, and in return, Cindy will buy groceries, cook meal, and take Charles to doctor's appointment. Over time, Charles became like family to them. He even planned for Sydney to inherit his house. But this plan changed when Cindy married Arshdeep Singh, After marrying him, she quickly became pregnant with twins. As they wanted their own space, they purchased a shed and placed it on the back of Charles' property. Noel was present for the birth of his twin siblings. However, the witness says that he looked malnourished and unhealthy, and this was the last time anyone has seen Noel. Something was very wrong. Not long after, Arshdeep Singh stole $10,000 from his employer, and Cindy applied for passports for the entire family except for Noel. An anonymous family member had tipped off the authorities saying Noel hasn't been seen for a long time. Cindy told them that Noel was in Mexico with his father. There was just this one problem. Noel's biological father hasn't seen him since the day he was born because he was deported way before that. Cindy's brother, Catorio Rodriguez, told the investigator something even more chilling. He said Cindy confessed to their mother that she had sold Noel because she believed he was possessed. She thought the boy was a devil and would harm her newborn twins. He also reported that Cindy water from Noel and she him with car keys. The investigator searched the property where Cindy had been living. When the investigator brought in the cadaver dog, the dog alerted them to two things: a discarded carpet and a fresh concrete patio. The investigator dug the concrete, but nothing was found. However, the suspicions wouldn't go away. Just before the family left the country on a one-way ticket, Cindy did something strange. She spent the entire family's tax return on building a new patio. The contractor later told the investigators that Cindy insisted the patio to be thicker on one specific area. Less than 24 hours before they disappeared, Arshdeep Singh allegedly disposed of a carpet in an outdoor dumpster. Investigators believe that this carpet carried the most horrifying truth of them all: the remains of the little Noel.
Sandy Lee, also known as Trucon Sandy Lee, was just 23 years old. She was the first person in an entire family to go to the uni. Her parents were extremely proud of their hardworking daughter. But it wasn't easy for her. She had to support herself by working double shifts at a restaurant while also balancing her college life. But finally, it was worth it. She graduated, secured a solid job, and she had a really important meeting coming up. It was supposed to be a normal day for Sandy. She woke up to her usual routine: coffee, a quick check of email, and ever-growing to-do list. Work was busy as usual, but then her phone rang, and she ignored it first. But then it just kept on buzzing and buzzing. She has no time for distraction. The really important meeting we talked about earlier is today. So she replies to the message. What she didn't really know was that this one message was going to change everything. Throughout the meeting, her head was clouded because of the messages. But after work, she decided to go to the Quick Trip. As she was pulling into the parking lot, she spotted this person's car. It was 19-year-old Fester. But Fester didn't text her, it was someone else. Sandy barely had any time to process all this before this man started walking towards her. Then before she could even say a word, he pulled out a gun. "Withdraw the money from your account," he ordered. She looked at the man she had once trusted, the man she loved. It is her ex-boyfriend, Alejandro Castillo. And Sandy had agreed to meet him because he was actually going to give her the money she had loaned him earlier. But instead of repaying her, he decided to rob her. As if it was not enough, Alejandro and Fester kidnapped her. They drove the car to the wood and Alejandro later shot Sandy. After the crime they committed, Alejandro and Fester crossed the border into Mexico. Fester eventually turned herself in, but Alejandro has not been seen. investigators still believe Castillo is still hiding in Mexico.